I was talking with my neighbor Margaret yesterday, lovely woman, just turned 82, and she said something that really stuck with me. She leaned over her garden fence and told me, "Some days I feel like I'm running out of steam faster than my whole tea kettle." And I'll bet many of you watching right now have felt that same way. That subtle feeling that your energy isn't quite what it used to be, or that small tasks suddenly feel, well, bigger. What if I told you that living to 100 isn't just about adding more healthy habits, that sometimes the real secret is doing less of certain things? Most longevity experts agree, and this might surprise you, that what you stop doing after 60 can matter just as much as what you start. Today, we're going to walk through 5 things that quietly drain our vitality as we age. These aren't dramatic bad habits, mind you. They're the subtle, everyday choices that feel completely normal until you understand how they chip away at our health over time. I'll share exactly why they matter and simple ways to gently ease back on them. No drastic changes, no complicated routines, just practical adjustments that fit right into your daily life. Let's start with something so ordinary you probably haven't given it a second thought today. How many hours have you spent sitting since you woke up? Reading the paper, having breakfast, watching the morning news? Here's what most of us don't realize. Those long, uninterrupted stretches in our favorite chair are doing more harm than we think. As we get past 60, our circulation naturally slows down. When we sit for hours without moving, it's like putting a gentle clamp on our veins, especially in our legs. You might notice more swelling in your ankles by afternoon, or that stiffness when you finally stand up. But here's what's happening beneath the surface. Our blood isn't flowing like it should, which can lead to dangerous blood clots over time. And it's not just our circulation. Our muscles are getting the wrong message too. They start thinking, well, I guess I'm not needed anymore. That gradual weakening, especially in our core and legs, makes balance trickier, and everyday tasks like climbing stairs feel like mountain climbing. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I take my daily walk, and that's wonderful. But here's what the research shows. Even 30 minutes of exercise can't fully undo 8 hours of continuous sitting. It's like brushing your teeth twice a day, but eating candy nonstop in between. The good news? Fixing this is easier than you imagine. You don't need to invest in a fancy standing desk or become a marathon walker. Try this. Every time a TV commercial comes on, stand up and march gently in place for just 30 seconds. Or set a soft alarm on your phone to remind you to walk to the kitchen and back every hour. When you're reading, take a page break every chapter to stretch your arms toward the ceiling. These tiny movement snacks keep your blood flowing and tell your muscles, hey, we're still in this together. Margaret started doing this last month. She calls it her stand and smile routine, and she told me her afternoon fatigue has lifted like morning fog. Now let's talk about something else that creeps up on us, those late night snacks. I'm guilty of this too. After a long day, there's nothing quite like settling into your favorite show with a comforting bowl of ice cream or a plate of cookies, is there? But here's what happens inside our bodies when we eat heavy or sugary foods close to bedtime, especially after 60. Our digestion isn't as efficient as it once was. Food stays in our stomach longer, like a clogged drain. So instead of our body focusing on repair and restoration while we sleep, it's working overtime trying to process that late meal. This leads to 2 big problems. First, you might notice heartburn keeping you up or restless sleep. Second, and this surprised me, those nighttime calories are far more likely to turn into stubborn belly fat because our metabolism is winding down for sleep. Dr. Elena Martinez, a geriatric specialist I spoke with last week, put it beautifully. Eating late is like sending workers into a factory after the lights are turned off. Nothing gets handled properly. But here's the hopeful part. We don't need to go to bed hungry. The solution is about what and when we eat. Try finishing dinner at least 3 hours before bedtime. If your stomach rumbles while you're watching the evening news, reach for what I call friendlier options. A small handful of almonds, half a banana, or my personal favorite, a warm cup of cinnamon tea. These satisfy without starting a digestive rebellion in your belly. And here's a little secret. Make your midday meal your biggest one. That's when our digestive fire is strongest. Load up on protein and veggies at lunchtime, maybe a nice piece of fish with roasted vegetables, and you'll naturally feel less hungry come evening. My friend Arthur switched to this pattern last year. At 78, he says he sleeps like he did in his 40s and even lost that stubborn pillow around his waist without dieting. You know, as we wrap up this first part, I'm reminded of something my grandmother used to say. Growing older isn't about running out of time. It's about discovering how to use it wisely. We've covered two subtle habits that drain our vitality, sitting too long and late-night eating. And you've probably noticed neither requires drastic changes, just gentle awareness and small adjustments. Next time, we'll talk about something even more powerful, how what we carry in our minds affects our bodies more than we realize. I'll share how releasing certain thoughts can feel like setting down heavy luggage you didn't know you were carrying. But before we continue this conversation, I'd love to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me this: which of today's points resonated most? Are you a chronic sitter like I was, or does that late-night snack call your name? Your stories inspire this entire community. If this felt like a helpful chat with a friend, do me a kindness, hit that like button. It helps others find these conversations. And if you haven't yet, tap subscribe and that little bell icon. That way, you won't miss our next talk where we'll continue this journey towards 100 and beyond together. Until then, be extra kind to yourself today. You've earned it. You know, when we last talked, I shared how my neighbor Margaret started standing and smiling during commercials. Well, yesterday, she knocked on my door with a plate of her famous oatmeal cookies and said, "You are right about those late-night snacks. I sleep like a log now." And that got me thinking. So much of living well after 60 isn't about big sacrifices. It's about gently setting down weights we didn't even know we were carrying. Today, let's talk about two more of those quiet energy drainers, starting with something that lives right here. Taps temples softly. Have you ever lain awake replaying that argument with your sister from 20 years ago? Or wondered what might have happened if you'd taken that job in another city? We've all done it, but as my friend Dr. Lewis, a psychologist who works with seniors, told me, holding regret is like storing spoiled fruit in your mental pantry. It poisons everything around it. Here's why it matters more than we think. When we dwell on if-onlys, our bodies react as if we're facing real danger right now. Our heart rate ticks up. Stress hormones flood our system. Over time, this quiet storm wears down our immune defenses and even clouds our thinking. I've seen it with my own dad. At 85, he'd get stuck for hours remembering the land he didn't buy in the 70s, until one day my niece asked him, "Grandpa, what's your favorite today thing?" That simple question shifted everything. So, how do we put down that heavy backpack of regrets? First, acknowledge them, then thank them. Sounds strange, I know, but try this. Next time an old "I should have" pops up, say quietly, "You taught me something. Now I'll let you rest." Then immediately shift to a "but today" statement. For example, "I regret not traveling more when I was young, but today I'm grateful for my Tuesday library walks with Ruth." This isn't pretending the past didn't happen. It's choosing where to point your flashlight, at the dark corners or the path ahead. Margaret told me she writes one "Today I loved" note every evening and tucks it in a jar. On hard days, she reads them like love letters from life itself. Now, let's talk about another weight we carry, one that feels noble but drains us dry. Saying yes when our soul whispers no. Maybe it's chairing another church committee when you're already exhausted, or watching your grandkids 5 days a week when your knees ache. We do it out of love, duty, or fear of seeming less capable. But here's the truth. Every unnecessary yes steals energy from the things that truly light you up. My cousin Evelyn, 76 and fiercely independent, learned this the hard way. She kept hosting huge family dinners until her blood pressure spiked. Her doctor didn't prescribe pills first. He prescribed boundaries.
Protect your golden hours like they're the last diamonds in a mine, he told her. So, how do we say no without guilt? Start with this gentle phrase. Let me check my calendar. It buys you time to ask, does this fill my cup or empty it? If it's the latter, try, I'm honored you asked, but I'm preserving my energy right now. No excuses needed. Remember, when you overcommit, you're not just giving away time, you're giving away mornings you could have spent bird watching, afternoons napping in the sun, or evenings reading that novel. These aren't selfish acts. They're sacred fuel that let you show up fully when you choose to. Evelyn now hosts one potluck monthly instead of weekly. And you know what? Her grandkids told her, "You laugh more now, Grandma." Isn't it remarkable? We've been talking about doing less sitting, less late eating, less regretting, less overcommitting, but what we're really creating is space. Space for better blood flow, space for deeper sleep, space for joy that doesn't hurt, space for quiet moments that feel like prayer. And in that space, life doesn't just last longer, it glows brighter. Next time, we'll explore the final habit, one so common we rarely question it. It's about how we measure our health against others, and why letting go of that ruler might be the greatest gift we give ourselves. But before we meet again, I'd love to hear what's one yes you could gently turn into a not now, or one old regret you're ready to thank and release. Share it below. Your words might light the path for someone feeling alone. If this feels like the honest talk we all need, tap that like button. It tells YouTube, more of this, please. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe and that little bell. It's free, and it ensures our next conversation finds you. Until then, repeat after me. My peace is precious. I will guard it gently. Go live that truth today.
You know, after our last talk, Margaret left me the sweetest voicemail. She said, I told my bridge club no to hosting Christmas lunch for 20 people, and you should have heard the silence. But then something magical happened. My daughter volunteered instead. Her voice was lighter than I'd heard in years, and that brings us to our final habit, one so subtle we often don't notice its weight until we set it down. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why can George still hike mountains at 80 when I need a cane? Or, Helen takes no medications. What's wrong with me? We measure our aging like it's a race with rules and finish lines. But my dear friend, aging isn't a competition. It's an intimate dance between your unique body and your one-of-a-kind life story. Every ache, every strength, every limitation carries the fingerprints of your journey. Dr. Amina Chen, a gerontologist I deeply admire, told me, comparing your health to others is like judging a rose by how tall an oak tree grows. It misses the whole point of being a rose. Here's why this matters. When we fixate on others' vitality, we overlook our own victories. That morning you tied your shoes without breathlessness? Victory. Reading without new glasses? Victory. Walking to the mailbox without pain? Absolute triumph. But comparison steals the applause from these moments. Worse, it triggers stress that actually accelerates aging. Cortisol floods our system, blood pressure rises, and even our cells age faster under the microscope. My neighbor Leo, at 83, broke this cycle beautifully. After hip surgery, he grieved that he'd never golf again. Then he noticed the retired teacher next door painting watercolors from her porch. She can't walk either, he realized, but she's making beauty where she is. So Leo bought binoculars. Now he tracks migrating birds from his window and keeps a life list that's inspired our whole street. So, how do we trade comparison for celebration? Start a one today journal. Not grand achievements, tiny victories. Took my pills without forgetting. Made myself a proper lunch. Laughed till I cried at Carol's joke. Over time, you'll see proof. Your health isn't defined by others' highlights, It's measured by your resilience, your adaptability, your courage to find joy within your circumstances. And that, my friends, is true vitality. Now, let's gather all we've learned. These 5 habits to gently ease back on: sitting too long, late night eating, dwelling on regrets, overcommitting time, comparing our health, they all share a common thread. They're ways we unknowingly shrink our lives. But when we do less of them, we create space. Space for better blood flow, deeper sleep, peaceful minds, joyful moments, and self-compassion. I want to speak to your heart for a moment. Maybe you're watching this thinking, but I've done some of these for decades. Hear me clearly. It's never too late to begin. Longevity isn't about perfection, it's about direction. Missed your walk today? Tomorrow's a fresh page. Ate pie at midnight? Savor every bite, then eat earlier tomorrow. What matters is the gentle return, not the stumble. Think of your life as that garden we mentioned earlier. You don't uproot all the weeds at once. You tend one corner today, another tomorrow. Some days you simply sit on the bench and admire how far you've come. That's how thriving at 70, 80, 90, and yes, 100 happens. Not through dramatic overhauls, but through daily kindnesses to yourself. I've met centenarians who've outlived their doctors. Know what they shared? Not kale smoothies or marathon training. They had this quiet refusal to abandon delight. They napped without guilt, said no to drain and yes to wonder, cherished small moments like sunlight on a teacup, and they treated their bodies like beloved old friends, with patience and good humor when things creaked. So, here's my blessing for you. May you measure your health not by others' paths, but by the peace in your heart each night. May you trade I should for I choose, regret for reverence, exhaustion for ease. And may every year ahead feel not like a number, but like a doorway to deeper joy. Before we go, I'd be so grateful if you'd share one tiny victory from your week below. Did you stand during commercials? Swap ice cream for tea? Release an old regret? Your story matters. It whispers to others, you're not alone. Try this. If this series felt like a friend walking beside you, please tap that like button. It helps these conversations reach more kindred spirits. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe and that little bell. It's completely free, and it ensures you never miss our chats about thriving at every age. From my heart to yours, thank you for trusting me with your time. Keep tending your magnificent garden. Here's to your 100 years and every radiant day along the way.